Hey, it's the Halloween month. That means all the gaming channels are legally obligated to play horror games. I, however, managed to find the grey area by playing an adventure game with a horror theme. The game is called World of Horror, which gives the impression that it will be scary, and it really isn't. Unless you're some kind of big baby. Huh? You a big baby? You afraid of these images drawn by a dentist in MS Paint? The drawings are really good though. They're creepy, uncomfortable, and maybe even horrifying, but it doesn't scare me. It doesn't fill my soul with fear like that painting in Ghostwire Tokyo. So you probably don't have to go hide in the comments from the spooky imagery. And yeah, this does look like something a dentist would draw. Dentists are of course psychopaths. When you want to heal people, you become a doctor. When you want to hurt people, you become a dentist. Visuals. Black and white art drawn in MS Paint. The art is inspired by Junji Ito, and yeah, I like me some Junji. There's a line from Junji Ito's work that I stop myself from saying to my girlfriend every day. And that line is... "This is my hole! It was made for me!" Sometimes the art is animated. It's impressive that he did that in fucking Paint. Seriously, the developer of this game was like, okay, finished drilling holes in people's teeth for the day. Time to go home and make an entire video game in fucking Paint. Seriously, this guy is impressive. And by the way, to my fellow dark mode enjoyers out there and possible racists, if this much white on the screen upsets you, then you can change the color scheme a little so it isn't as bright. For this kinda limited art range or whatever that the visuals are working with, the game gets the most out of it that it possibly could. He did this in Paint. Look at this teacher. Absolutely haunting. Truly belongs in my nightmares. Along with my real life teachers. Okay, the actual video game. It's old school. Retro. The game hammers that in by having the corners be a really old monitor. You wanna start the game. Go new story, select your color scheme, and now you have to choose between two preset stories, or quick play or custom. The one on top is the least complex, so that's where you should start. It starts you right into a mystery, which is not the usual way you play the game, so I will talk about the other modes which are pretty much the same. And I'll talk about the story stuff later. But this video game plays like a board game. Specifically the board game Eldritch Horror. It's a board game where you try to stop a Lovecraftian old god from waking up or whatever by solving mysteries. And you also do that in this game. You have an investigator who has stats and some abilities, and then during encounters you do dice rolls based on your stats, but then during your turn you take actions. All of that also happens in this game. I've played Eldritch Horror obviously, so it's cool for me to see it in video game form, even if World of Horror is different in some aspects. So once you start playing, you can go to the lighthouse or home. The lighthouse has 5 locked locks. To open them you need a key, which you get by solving a mystery, so you go home, take a bath or watch some TV. Look into the peephole like a creep, and then go into your psychotic obsession room and select a mystery to start. And now, you are really in the game. For the most part the gameplay can be summed up as this. Go to place, perform location specific actions or investigate a place, and resolve an event. Whether you get a positive or negative outcome from the event will depend on a dice roll behind the scenes. And your stats, which you can increase by leveling up or getting an ally, who you recruit on the schoolyard. You can also buy items and weapons from the hardware store or from the local Shiba Inu. This is the only video game I have ever seen where I can buy cigarettes from a dog. Sometimes the events you encounter are combat. The combat is turn-based but with a small mechanical difference to make it interesting: the time limit. You can do any number of actions in a turn as long as the actions are within the time limit. The time limit is usually 200. So, for example, dodging takes 200 time, attack boost takes 10 time, and finally a kick takes 55 time. The sum of these three is 185, which is within the time limit. So, you can take those actions because they're within the time limit. Okay, you get it. These values can be different depending on your investigator and your stats, so dodging can take less time, for example. But it's pretty standard. You have health and enemy has health, and you want to make his go away while preserving yours. But you can take stamina damage and reason damage. So, stamina is your physical body and reason is your sanity. Fighting a ghost will take a toll on your sanity, and fighting a person with a knife will hurt your body. If you take damage during a combat encounter, that damage will stick with you, so you need to keep your stamina and reason in good standing so you can take a few hits throughout the playthrough. You do that by going home and taking a bath, but that will increase your doom. If doom hits 100%, you lose the game. So keep an eye on that because you don't have that many options for reducing doom. The doom mechanic is meant to make you think more about the actions you take. Sure, a better weapon or an ally would be nice, but is it worth the extra doom? Evaluating risk versus reward, that kind of thing. So the core gameplay loop is solving the mysteries. This is usually in a town where you can go buy stuff or investigate places. Mainly investigating the place the game tells you to investigate to progress the mystery. But investigating other places might give you some reward. Or it might curse you with holes. Yes, holes. They just start appearing on your body. That's not very nice. And I have no idea how to get rid of them. Kinda like Lovecraftian herpes, I guess. You go down a set path in the mystery and make choices that can lead to a different ending. And there are some random things in between, but it all culminates in a boss battle. Most of them are just a difficult fight, but there are some where you can do some special things depending on the items you have, or whether you got some clue that lets you do it. Once you finish a mystery, you get a key in the mail, which will be used to open a lock in the lighthouse. Once you have finished all 5 mysteries, you can open all the locks and then climb up the lighthouse. The lighthouse is a gauntlet of encounters, sometimes combat, sometimes an event with a stat-based dice roll. You're going to need a lot of health and stamina for this. But at the top of the lighthouse, there isn't a boss fight. You kinda just win. Kinda anticlimactic. The reason I keep playing again and again is the little differences between all the playthroughs, and there are achievements, and when you unlock an achievement, you get new stuff. So it's a drip feed of new things and challenges to go for. It's a good gameplay loop, and you can save and exit after every mystery, so you can jump in and out, and a mystery usually takes like 10 to 15 minutes. I like the choices you can make, and I'm constantly wondering what I could have done that would have given me a different ending to a mystery, so there is a lot of replayability. As for the combat, I'm not a turn-based combat kind of guy, except when I can do a lot of stuff with it, like Baldur's Gate 3, or when it has a unique mechanic, like Riot Games' Ruined King. And the time limit mechanic here makes the turn-based combat good enough for me. Story. So there isn't really a traditional story here, but there are stories here. Each mystery is its own story within the story of getting into the lighthouse. The overarching story of cultists summoning old god, you must stop them, isn't very interesting or fleshed out. But the mysteries are. Each mystery is like a small playable Junji Ito comic. Like this weird dive into obsession and horror, and most of them sound pretty non-threatening. Like the eerie episode of Evolving Eels and macabre memoir of morbid mermaids. I'll just tell you about the eels and mermaids so you have an idea of what to expect here. Let's start with the eels. Your friend and neighbor Kana comes up to you and says, "Hey, that freaky fish guy is back." So like the nosy assholes you are, you do some snooping. You try to check out his apartment and then you try to check out his office at the school. That's like criminal trespassing, but okay. His office was empty, except for a few jars full of eel-like fish. Kana, the stupid fuck, decides to take a jar home. Kana says she has seen the freaky fish guy burning some notes behind the apartment building. So you go try to find something that's still legible, and the notes say, from what you can read, bad guys kill people and throw corpses into lake full of eels. Eels would lay their eggs inside human something. Kana has another absolutely brilliant idea. She is going to try to break into the freaky fish guy's apartment tomorrow morning. And surprise, surprise, right in your eyes, the next morning Kana is nowhere to be found. Where could she be? You enter the neighbor's apartment. It's filled with eels. In the bathroom you find the freaky fish guy missing both eyes with countless tiny blood trails leading from them. In the bedroom you find Kana. She tells you the freaky fish guy's eye burst and she slipped on the blood and got knocked out. And she's afraid there's something in her eye. You can either take her to the hospital or puncture her eye with a needle. So you go dead space on her ass. And stab her eye, and the eels just leave the eye immediately. That was easy. You take her to the hospital and she survives. Yay! Okay, now the mermaid stuff. Let's do a short version for that one. There are people missing in your area. They all attended the same school. They were all members of the swimming team. You learn that the kidnapper is obsessed with mermaids, and he had a map of the sewer system. And you learn that it connects with a school basement. So you go there and discover one of the kidnapped girls cut in half, and sewn together with the bottom half of a fish. It was the school janitor, another freaky fish guy. Now you have to fight him. Except I did not do that. Instead, I opened a manhole cover that connects to the sewer, and out of it comes an actual mermaid and kills him, I think. But the mermaid tells you the fish should be on top. And that's what these stories are mostly like. Not all of them are about fish, but they all involve something really weird and give you something a little different each time. Especially if you go for different endings, it's like a playable Junji Ito comic. Pretty good. Conclusion. It's a good game, lots of replayability, interesting stories, and gameplay that is good enough. This is one of the few games that I'm here for the story and ambience rather than the gameplay. It's a game that I play occasionally, whenever I wanna see what weird story the dentist has cooked up. If there's anything I would ask for, it would probably be to make things a little more animated and up the scare factor, and you could probably get away with having a little more gore. Basically, go harder on the horror aspect of World of Horror. But what did we learn here today? Well, if it's anything, then don't be a freaky fish guy. I give the game an Uzumaki out of the one with the cat. So my favorite Junji Ito out of my least favorite. Midterms are hard. Subscribe, call me Uncle Brian, and have a horrific day.